Everybody, welcome and a big aloha to you. I'm Natalie, and this is Life After a Cult, the channel where we expose cult nonsense. We laugh at the absurdity, and we hopefully unbrainwash ourselves in the process. And we have breaking news. Breaking news is that Scientology is still very weird. Yes, even on a Monday. Tom Cruise might be recruiting again, and Relatable Reese she's discovering religion. We're going to talk about what some of your favorite content creators and live streamers were doing over Easter weekend, myself included. There was a lot that happened. So we're going to get into everything, including how Aaron Smith-Levin was lighting up flag like it was Festivus for the rest of us. Who remembers that? Put it in the chat. What show is that from? Festivus. I know you guys know. If you're on the replay, jump in the comments. Jenna Miscavige dropped some serious truth bombs about trauma and emotional regulation. We got out of LA out calling Scientology out on their hypocrisy, and a ton more news out of LA as well. Hey, Dusty, good to see you. Okay, yes, Seinfeld. Thank you, Arkansas Flamingo and Mama Oppo and Carla's loving wife. Great to see you. And Dusty, of course, from Clearwater. That's right. It was from Seinfeld. Remember that? Festivus for the rest of us. Something like that it went. I forgot. Anyways, I digress. Let's get the Tom Cruise news out of the way. And it's a little interesting because there's still a lot swirling about this Ana de Armas situation. Is he not? Is she not? Are they dating? Are they not? Who knows? I don't think so, because I really don't want to think so. I really am hoping that this is just not true. But let's talk about what's being said, okay? Let's see. So this is the young lady in question here. And according to a Daily Express article, Ana de Armas, our gorgeous Cuban queen of red carpets, and some say emotional rage, but I'm not saying that. I don't know. Some people say it, is being warned by fans about her rumored romance with Tom Cruise. Okay, so my big thing, you know what I'm loving about this? She's being warned by fans. She's being warned by fans about her potential relationship with Tom Cruise. I love this. Because as we've talked about before, they were spotted on Valentine's Day, took a helicopter ride together, and they're working on a reboot of Days of Thunder, which, side note, is perfect, because if there's one thing this man knows how to do, it's crash relationships at 200 miles an hour. We've seen it over and over again. Now, you've got friends saying that, or sources, right? Sources are saying they're just friends. Just like Tom's last 3 wives were just taking personality tests for funsies right before signing a billion-year contract with the Church of Dramatic Life Decisions. They didn't sign billion-year contracts that I know of, but you kind of get the point. And this young lady here, I just want to grab her and say, baby girl, I know you've dated some high-profile weirdos like Ben Affleck, right? He literally had a life-size cardboard cutout of her in his trash. I mean, I get it, right? You break up, maybe you don't want the cardboard cutout anymore, but I don't know, you got to throw it in the trash, or could you at least do it in a way that wouldn't be so obvious to people, given that you're Ben Affleck? But whatever, right? So Tom Cruise is now potentially on her dating resume, but let's take a look at the past here. And this is what I hope her friends are warning her about. Mimi Rogers, gone. That was his first wife. Nicole Kidman, escaped. Both of them suppressive people. Katie Holmes, vanished, right? Suppressive person. Every woman Tom Cruise has married has been labeled by Scientology as a suppressive person. Now, Penelope Cruz, they didn't get married, but she fast and furious right out of there. She wasn't around very long. I feel like long enough to find out that Scientology was crazy. And let's not forget Tom's true ride or die. And this here is the problem with Tom Cruise in any relationship. His true ride or die is the Church of Scientology. That's the one relationship that's never ended in divorce, at least not yet. Coincidence? I think not. That's who his ride or die is. Now, maybe Anna thinks she can be the one to break the Cruise curse, if you call it, with women. But I don't know. People have tried that before, and next thing you know, you're doing drills with a fake e-meter and clapping for David Miscavige like he's Beyonce. You get sucked in. You can get sucked in so fast. especially when it's Tom Cruise. So to all the fans warning Anna, you're not haters, okay? You're really like, you're real ones who actually saw Eyes Wide Shut and you live to tell the tale. And to Anna, we're going to keep an eye out for your safety. And I'm glad that your fans are warning you because, girl, love is beautiful, but you don't want to end up on a private jet heading for Clearwater and asking, how did I get here? And have no idea. And that's what can happen. She's going to get all wrapped up in the Tom Cruise universe, being his girlfriend. And next thing you know, she's cleaning bathroom floors like one of his former girlfriends who was a Scientologist at Flag in Clearwater for daring to ask David Miscavige to repeat himself. Excuse me? Can you say that again? Apparently a horrible crime if you're David Miscavige. That's right, Julia. You can get sucked in so fast. So I will continue to pay attention because it is kind of getting interesting. I still, like I said, I think they're just working together, but you never know. Watch this be the one time it's actually true. And it's the time where I'm like, yeah, no, this is not happening. And it is. So we'll have to see. Tell me what you guys think. You can tell me in the comments or in the replay. Get in those comments and let me know. Do you think it's for real? Is it a thing? I don't know. I'll tell you what's for real, though. We are going to take a look at, I'm going to show you, we're going to look at an article, and then I'm going to show you a clip. So Scientology, as you know, the Michael J. Rinder Aftermath Foundation put up 20 billboards in the Los Angeles area, but they are not stopping there, my friends. No, no, no. They are not. Look at this. First, let's look at, we got an article coming out from the underground bunker, Tony Ortega. You can see it there. He has a Substack. You can subscribe. There's a free version and there's a paid version if you'd like to support him that way. I will link everything down below that we're talking about today. So as you can see here, that is Apostate Alex on a billboard. So there are more billboards that are going up, but shenanigans have abounded here. Something is going on because here's what happened. The underground bunker says that, well, let me back it up a little bit. Like I said, 4 weeks ago, right, is when, I think it's been about 4 weeks, those billboards have gone up in Los Angeles. And, oh no, maybe not 4 weeks, but in London, do you guys remember the Scientology billboards that were up? Where it was like Curious, the regular Scientology billboards, and they were like in the tube, and people were like, you can't do that. Like, what is this? And they got so much pushback. There were multiple articles about it. Well, look at this now. These are billboards. I'm an ex-Scientologist, Alex, activist, Curious, the Aftermath Foundation, aftermath.help. This is amazing. So these are supposed to go up. But there was a little bit of a delay here. So these billboards, as you know, these are actual survivors of Scientology abuse, right? We're talking Mike Rinder's in there, Claire Headley, and now Alex Barnes Ross. These aren't not influencers, not actors, but real people who lived through the nonsense and came out the other side with receipts. So the ads were supposed to go up the other day at Tottenham Court Road Station, which is a big commuter traffic area, big visibility, and is a big middle finger to Scientology's public relations department, the Office of Special Affairs, which let's make sure you're awake on this Monday. So let's see here. Let's just use one. David Miscavige, wake up your staff. Office of Special Affairs. It's Monday. Ooh, ooh. And you know your girl loves Monday. I get so excited. It's like a fresh box of crayons opened up. So anyways, back to this story here, right? So big area, big, busy, big middle finger to Scientology. But when Apostate Alex showed up to see the new ads, weren't there. Nada, zilch. Just a suspicious amount of, we'll get back to you from Transport of London, who I guess are the people that handle all that stuff. So apparently it's a bank holiday. So everyone's out having tea and pretending they don't know what a suppressive person is. So yeah, sure, Jan. So did they not go up because it was a holiday, or are they not going up because of Scientology intervening? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to tell when it comes to Scientology, because maybe Scientology caught wind of this and called up their legal Death Eaters with a cease and desist spell Like in Harry Potter, didn't they have the Death Eaters? Were they called Death Eaters? Now I'm forgetting, but you get the point. I mean, these are the same people who put up a scissor lift in Los Angeles just to block a billboard. Yes, really. The pettiness is strong with Scientology. It is huge. It is humongous. They are the kings and queens of petty. I really feel that way. Now, the aftermath ads weren't just like a gotcha move, okay? They were stories of healing and hope. People who got locked up, thrown in lakes, abused as kids, and still chose to speak up. That's a lot of the former Scientology community because they know someone else might be stuck inside right now, wondering if there's a way out. That was me when I wanted to leave Scientology. And what helped me gather the strength to do so, risking losing my family and so much, were former Scientologists coming forward with their stories and sharing them online. That helped me so much. That's why I'm here doing this today in large part, because I know how much it helped me, and I'm hoping that it can help other people, not just Scientologists, former Scientologists, but all of you never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult. Because you relate. And even though my cult and my upbringing was Scientology, I know so many of you relate because you've been maybe in a high control group or an abusive relationship or had some type of trauma in your childhood. So it seems that, is this message of these billboards in London too spicy for Scientology? Because let's be honest, right? When you're running a $1 billion operation on a space volcano, with your origin story is about a space volcano, the last thing you want is facts. Having facts pop up when you're on the tube there in London. So shout out to the Aftermath Foundation for trying to bring some realness to London, to their commute, and for transport in London. I don't know. We love you, but if Scientology bullied you into a delay, just say that, yeah, you're totally going to get called out on it. So we'll see. Maybe they'll come up. I mean, it's already Monday, way later in the day. In fact, there's a protest going on in London, might still be going on right now. We're going to look at a clip of that, actually. Let me get that pulled up. But I love this. I love that these billboards are going up in London. And London Scientology UK, let's be honest, they cannot stand apostate Alex. They don't like most people who speak out against Scientology, but he's been very persistent in this. And I absolutely love that. And I don't doubt that they absolutely hate it. So let's now go take a look at a clip from, this was actually today. This is a protest outside in London.
Here we go. Outside the centre. Here we are. I've been working on your hat finally. So here we are. We got to be careful because every time I mention a name or someone's face shows up on the on Facebook, on YouTube, I get a privacy complaint. So I'm going to try not to show anyone's face because they're trying to weaponize the YouTube system.
They are, and they usually fail at it, but they're going to try. So I'm going to link that down below. You can check out the whole protest. I think they just wrapped up a little while ago because when I was getting ready for today's recap, I saw that. I also wanted to bring to your attention the question of the day. If you haven't answered it, what's something someone once tried to convert you to that you're still recovering from? Essential oils, which, by the way, no shade. I love essential oils. Okay. I live with multiple diffusers. I love it. Or CrossFit or Scientology. Like, what was it? Is there something somebody tried to convert you into and you're still recovering from it? I'm curious. So let me know in the chat. And if you're on the replay, jump in those comments too. Let's talk about it. And thank you so much, Northern Girl, for the reminder for you all to hit that like and hit that subscribe as well as we go along. I appreciate you showing that like button. Lots of aloha, just like you do each other. All right, now let's go talk about some Jenna Miscavige. Jenna Miscavige and Tim Fletcher continue to break down. I swear it was like all of our childhoods. Not all of us, obviously, but if you grew up with even just a sliver of trauma, you want to watch these videos. Tim Fletcher has a second channel called Time with Tim Fletcher, which is newer, and these videos are on that channel. I'm gonna link it down below. But let's look at this here. I thought this was fantastic.
You're getting onto a very important distinction that needs to be made. And it's the difference between emotional regulation that's healthy and emotional stuffing that's unhealthy. So a child that's allowed to be fully human is going to express.
This is a huge issue, as many of you know, in Scientology. It's this, they use the stuffing method of stuffing down your emotions and not experiencing them. And this is something I've often wondered, like, okay, I know that we're not supposed to stuff down our emotions, but I also know that we're not supposed to crap on everybody, right? We're not supposed to weaponize our trauma at the same time. So how do you, especially in even currently today, use emotional regulation and know that you're honoring and you're processing your emotions, but you're not, just crapping on people for the sake of crapping on people. And he really gets into that. I really appreciated that. Let's let this, hold on a second here. There we go. Let's watch this.
It's all their emotions, but their parents are going to teach them emotional intelligence, which is how to express emotions appropriately for the situations so that they don't hurt others. And so you learn to manage your emotions and express them well. And then if you get triggered, you learn, okay, I'm going to express a big emotion, but I'm going to regulate it quickly and get back into a safe zone.
And I thought that was interesting because that kind of answers my question is, if you in the moment, especially, right? We can't be all like, I don't know, maybe some people can be perfectly emotionally regulated all the time. That's not me. If you can, awesome. Your life must be super chill. But I really appreciated this conversation because how do you do that? Because again, growing up in Scientology, it was all about suppressing our emotions and not showing them. We couldn't show upset or grief because it would be a distraction from our work in Scientology, in the Sea organization, for example. And then if your parents are Scientologists, in many cases, not every Scientology family is this way. Every Scientologist, we have similar, a lot of shared experiences, but it doesn't mean every Scientologist had the same experience. But many who grew up in Scientology, their parents, like mine, their primary focus was on Scientology. And getting hurt, getting sick, being upset about things as a child was seen as a distraction from Scientology. So I did not grow up in the Sea organization like Jenna did, but I grew up in a multi-generation Scientology family. And that was very much a message that I learned early on, not to express those emotions because it'll get you sent to Washington State in the middle of winter when you're 13 for 3 months and banished. That's what's happened to me. So let's finish this up.
So emotional regulation is just the tools, the skills needed to be fully emotional, but to manage and express emotions wisely and lovingly. What happens in complex trauma is a child comes in authentic and expresses their emotions and they get punished for it. They get shamed for it. They get told they're bad. And so they have to start stuffing, which means they got to repress all of their emotions because to show emotions makes you weak. To show emotions gets you in trouble. And so you just try not to feel and emotion.
And that's interesting to me because he's talking from the perspective, right, of somebody who has treated other people with this CPTSD. And it's not just people growing up in Scientology. And that really was an eye-opener for me. Like, wow, it made me feel so closer to many of you where you've shared your stories. It's like, no wonder we relate to each other because it's just a different cult. It's just a different type of high control group. This was just amazing to me. Let's see. I think this is just about done here.
Become messy. But what they don't realize is they think they're just suppressing their negative emotion.
Hold on.
But they're really suppressing all of their emotions. So now they don't have this capacity to enjoy stuff and just go, wow, that's beautiful. I just want to dance here. And no, they got to keep everything always.
Yes, all of it. That was the other thing that really opened my eyes. It's not just what we would consider maybe negative emotions, or in Scientology, it's called misemotion, but even really happy emotions. You could not be super excited in the Sea organization, right? At times, unless it was super excited over like L. Ron Hubbard and David Miscavige are so amazing. Oh my God. Then that would be like appropriate in Scientology. But for everyday life things, or things that Scientology would consider a distraction, for you to get super excited because your kid graduated high school or even college, or just some other thing, some other milestone, it's just no, the attention, the time, all of the energy should be with Scientology. So I thought that was very insightful. And again, I think many of you, even never in Scientology, will really relate to a lot of that, right, Afila? Jenna's video from the other day on her own was wow. Oh, yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. That one, I'm going through it a second time. I was going to clip that one. I'm like, I need to process it more. So I'm going through it a second time. It's fabulous. You can find it, of course, at Jenna Miscavige here on YouTube. I'm going to link it down below. And there's something else that they talked about too that I wanted to share with you guys. Let me get that pulled up and let's take a look at that and give me your thoughts on this.
So how do I get out of this present reality and get to this calm state where I can be kind of physically in the reality, but not emotionally in the reality?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I was never really like I guess compared to everyone else in Scientology, I was never particularly good at it. Like I feel like they would constantly say that I was not compliant, and they have this word backflash, like it's an unnecessary response to an order, and I would always
Which
I really didn't even think
an unnecessary response to an order in Scientology, this what she's talking about with backflash, can be a question. Take out the garbage. Do I take the garbage out, like all the garbage in the house, or that's backflash? Take out the garbage. I mean, whatever it is, it's crazy. It's insane. All right, let's watch this.
I was doing it, but apparently they did think that. So I feel like if they were listening to this, they'd be like, she's compliant, but I was like compared to how my children are, I'm certainly compliant. Just
So-
maybe, yeah.
So can I ask you this? Like, I can see you being that to a certain degree with authorities, but you probably had an internal sense of how far you could push the envelope before you needed to stop. So you could kind of rebel or backflash a little bit, but you couldn't go too far. You kind of knew where
Right.
to draw the line
Of
internally.
course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's with authorities. With your friends, though, to me, you would be much more, I want to have peace and harmony.
Yes, totally.
So
Yeah.
you would take the skills that
Mhm.
were actually being taught to you
Mhm.
to be compliant, to be happy, to be all of that, and you transferred that to your friendship group.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think I naturally was that way. Like I don't want to
Right,
fight with
exactly.
people. Yeah, yeah, and I really like people a lot in general.
It was so interesting because they just get into different types of relationships as well. It's I think 4 interviews that she's done, and if you have not seen them, I would put this on your list of must see. You can go to Time with Tim Fletcher. I'm linking this down below, but the videos are great. Every time I watch one of them, I feel like I'm getting therapy. Northern Girl says Jenna is learning to name so many new emotions and realizations. That is very true. And even though I think about how I've been out of Scientology for 15 years, but it hasn't been 15 years of nonstop focusing on my healing or in recognizing the ways I separate myself out from that cult personality I felt I had in Scientology. So for me, seeing other former Scientologists, especially Sea Org members, because I can relate to that, work through this is amazing. Again, I feel like I'm getting therapy there. So I think you guys will find it helpful as well. Let's see. That's right, Sharona. Jenna's been on fire with her videos on her channel too. She's really explaining how she's using her new tools in such a beautiful way. Yes, beautiful way, in a vulnerable way. I'm loving it and I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. Cassie says, I love Jenna's latest video where she put some of what she learns into action. That's the cool thing. So she did these interviews, these sessions with Tim Fletcher that exist that we all get to watch, but she's also doing content and showing how she's using what she learned in her recovery from Scientology and her whole life after a cult. It is fabulous. I can't wait to talk to her more about it in person, because I get to see her in less than 2 weeks when we go to Hawaii. And I'm really looking forward to that and actually asking her a lot more about some of these conversations, but it's fabulous. All right, guys, let's go over to Hollywood. We got to talk about Los Angeles. We must talk about Los Angeles. There's some crazy shenanigans going on in Los Angeles, and they involve Scientology. I know, big surprise. You're like, Natalie, what? Shenanigans? Scientology? Los Angeles? What are you saying? Well, let's start off with a little Dan Walks LA. So let's do a little run through of what your favorite live streamers were doing over Easter weekend. And it was a lot. And we're going to start with Dan Walks LA, who was out. We've got a little clip here. Oh, wait, no. We're not going to start with Dan Walks LA. We're going to get to Dan, but we're going to start with a video on Scientology Audit Streets LA with William Good speaking to a Scientologist. There were a couple of women there. I don't know if they were all Scientologists or just the one, but for sure it's the one. And this was super interesting to me. And I think that you guys may find it interesting too. We're going to talk about this. There's a lot packed into this.
Why is the street closed?
Oh, tomorrow, here, I'll give you this.
Oh, you got an Easter event.
We're having our annual Easter event tomorrow.
And it's all for free.
It's all free, and it's...
Scientology celebrates Easter?
Oh, yeah, we celebrate all the holidays because we do a big community. We're all denominational.
I didn't know that had anything to do with Easter. It was all...
Okay, this is what Scientology says, as you know, where they actually say we're non-denominational. I don't know if all denominational. First off, being non-denominational, as I understand it, applies to Christian beliefs, because your common denominator is God and worshiping, prayer involving God. So if your denomination is Catholic or you're Lutheran, whatever it is, some churches are non-denominational in that you can have those different beliefs, right? Correct me if I'm like totally off on this here. Here's the thing. Listen to this, because it's not true. In Scientology, when you start out, you can be down with Jesus when you start out. But at a certain point, no, you cannot be down with Jesus anymore. Case in point, let's look at Joy Villa. Right? You guys know Joy Villa. She's a singer. She's the one who's gone to the Grammys a bunch of times and worn crazy like Trump dresses, things supporting Trump. She's really known for that. She was known for being a Scientologist. And based on what I've seen on Instagram, it would appear that she left Scientology, and she was making it very clear that her beliefs lie with Jesus, that Jesus is her Lord and Savior. Well, at the point that she got to in Scientology, from Scientology's perspective, that is a huge outpoint to say that. Something is seriously wrong with you as a Scientologist. From their perspective, if you were saying that at that point on Scientology's Bridge to Total Freedom, where Joy Villa got to, she was a very highly trained auditor. So even she found that, no, you actually have to choose eventually between your Christian beliefs and Scientology, and really any other beliefs, once you get to a certain point. Otherwise, you can't get very far. So what this woman is saying is, as y'all know, not true.
Well, we also celebrate Christmas and New Year's and Rosh Hashanah and you
Wait,
name it.
what?
No, I swear to God.
Okay, Scientologists do not celebrate Rosh Hashanah. Okay. Now, maybe there are newer Scientologists. Maybe they're doing it for public relations. You know what I'm saying? Like they're just doing it to make nice with their neighbors or communities who celebrate that holiday. They don't celebrate it themselves. And I grew up in Scientology. We still celebrated Easter and Christmas, but not from a Christian point of view. We celebrate, well, a little bit maybe, because it was about family and time together, at least for me. I'm speaking for myself. We would do Easter egg hunts. We do the whole Easter bunny. We would do the commercialized Easter. We would do family brunch. But it really wasn't with a focus. Like we didn't go to Christian church or anything like that, or even, Scientology. So it wasn't really like we acknowledged it. But again, we did it in a very commercial way. And with Christmas, we always celebrated and still do celebrate Christmas. And for my family, it's about coming together and having that time together as a family. But in Scientology, there's no celebration of Jesus and God. It just, no. So if you celebrate that in your life and you want to be active in Scientology, eventually those two things start growing further and further apart. And you have to make a choice. Liz Gale, great point. Celebrate is a loose term. Acknowledging and buying stuff isn't the same as religiously or spiritually celebrating a holiday. I agree completely. So what this woman's saying is it is just not completely true. Hey, Gaslit. Okay, so let's let her continue here.
Yeah.
She said,
to be honest,
Oh.
I heard that L. Ron Hubbard, like the creator of this religion, science fiction thing, had said that Jesus Christ was a pedophile. Is that true?
No, he never said that.
Okay.
And I've listened to tons of his tapes.
Okay.
Now, you guys, of course, have heard this, that L. Ron Hubbard said Jesus Christ was a PDF file, right? This was in the original operating Thetan level 8 that came out done by L. Ron Hubbard. And people pushed back because they were like, what? What are you saying? And then they went and, changed it a bit to make it more easier for Scientologists to get through operating Thetan level 8. They were even pushing back on L. Ron Hubbard saying that. So that says a lot. He only changed it because of the pushback. It was still what L. Ron Hubbard said. And if this woman hadn't done operating Thetan level 8 at that time, how would she know? So for her, and for many Scientologists, when they say this doesn't happen, that didn't happen, many of them are telling the truth from their point of view, from their reality and experience in Scientology. There is no Xenu, because if you didn't do operating Thetan 3 or above and you're a Scientologist, you don't know Xenu, you don't know body Thetans. And it's not until you leave Scientology that you find out the truth about who L. Ron Hubbard really was. So it's something that they say. Some Scientologists truly do believe it because of their experience, but it actually is not the truth.
And actually, he gives a lot of credit to Jesus Christ for actually
being a lover of young men and boys.
No.
Okay, he gives a lot of credit to Jesus Christ. I don't know, Liz Gale, my other former Scientology friends, did I miss it? Did I miss an entire step on the bridge to total freedom where L. Ron Hubbard gives a ton of credit to Jesus Christ? I can remember maybe one time, maybe two, if I'm being super generous, where he might have mentioned something about Jesus in a even slightly positive way. And I did a lot of Scientology as well. I've listened to a ton of LRH lectures, unfortunately. So I don't know what she's talking about. It's just not a thing. And I think my former Scientology friends here will back this up, right? Like, tell me, did you run into that? It was not part of any conversation I would have in Scientology. Just not. Amber Vanessa says, in the Sea organization, we had 3 things I remember celebrating. 1 was the beer and cheese party. 2 was the bosun's party. And then there was Sea Org Day. Christmas, we did not get off. We did get off in the morning. Yeah, in the Sea organization, there's even less of a celebration of that going on.
Yeah, isn't that what he said, though?
No.
That Jesus Christ was a lover of young men and boys.
No. Where in the world would you get that?
I thought I had heard that. So I don't know.
Are you taping me? Huh?
Huh?
Are you taping me?
Yeah,
Why?
because we came over here to document this.
I see.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what was going on.
So, are you guys
Do you have any questions?
doing this to black PR?
No, we were just trying to document.
Okay, first off, what is she doing saying black PR? To my non-Scientology friends, is black PR a non-Scientology phrase? In Scientology, it's black propaganda. It's enemy lines. It's stuff you put out about people speaking out about Scientology. Black propaganda. Is that, because I thought that was just a Scientology phrase. And I'm like, what is this? She's using how many times this week have we looked at clips where we've seen Scientologists using Scientology phrases with non-Scientologists, like you're not supposed to do? I think it's even a suppressive act. The other day it was calm. Somebody said calm at the testing center instead of communication. Liz Gale says, my mom was old operating Thetan level 8 and refused to do a retread. She also read the whole Bible that year. Whoa, interesting. And that's interesting, Liz, because Liz's mom is still a hardcore Scientologist. She refused to do the redo and she read the Bible that year. That's really interesting, Liz. And what's even more fascinating is the fact that she's still involved. Absolutely. Okay, so you guys have never heard of that term. So black PR then is a Scientology term, but I can't believe she used it. Now, Scientology Audit Streets LA, William Good and Jessica Palmadessa know that term because they're familiar with a lot of the Scientology language, but she should not be saying that like at all. And that's right. Michael Malloy show OT8 is the highest right now in Scientology auditing. Rem Arts, nope. Only ever heard black PR when Scientology is involved. Dave's Deep Dive says, as a linguist, black PR is not a standard English term. Okay, thank you. So again, using that term with people who wouldn't necessarily know what it is. So for somebody who's been in Scientology since 1970, Office of Special Affairs, what's happening? I'm sure you're watching this going, we're writing this woman up. Yep, nope. Use Scientology words when she shouldn't have. Yeah.
Man, what's going on?
Oh, well, what's going on is
We were literally, I have my fries, we were riding down, we see the streets closed down, and we were like, okay, what's going on? I had heard something, so we figured.
Well, you come tomorrow and you'll find out all about us.
11 a.m. to 4 p.m.?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. If I
So she's promoting the Easter event that was happening.
Same way. Yeah. And I
I've
said to
heard
myself,
people say bad things too, but I've been in Scientology since 1970, before all of you were born. And I am also a minister since 1972. I've married people. I've done funerals for people.
But have you done your job as a mandatory reporter? Since 1972, since you've been a Scientology minister, has it ever come up that somebody was essayed in Scientology, especially children? And did you report it since you've been a minister since 1972? I mean, considering how long she's been a Scientologist, some of the things she's saying, I'm like, it doesn't, just like you're slipping. That's right, Florence. She's going to get in trouble for inviting SPs. Las Vegas nanny. That minister looked confused. Yeah, exactly. El Sonaben, non-denominational in Christianity just means not affiliated with a big organization. Basically means you don't have to share your money that you steal from people, in my opinion. All right. Thanks for sharing that. Let's see. Liz Gale says, so if she was in 1970, then she was probably one of the 5,000 agents involved with Operation Snow White, to be honest. That is an excellent point, Liz Gale. 5,000 Scientologists were involved in infiltrating over 136 government entities. And many of them are no longer in Scientology, but some of them are. And you're right, Liz, very much. Could have been. Could have been. It's actually a great point. Rochelle says LRH is the best person she knows. Sharon said she's a minister in her own mind. She doesn't know what she doesn't know. Exactly. She's definitely got the blinders on, and she definitely seems like someone, this is a good example of somebody who probably has really good intentions, wants to help, really wants to be maybe a minister or someone who helps, but that's been hijacked by Scientology. She believes their propaganda and the lies that she's been told for a very long time. She's been involved now. I mean, I was born in 70, so that's 54 years, 55 years ago now, this year, of, not leaving. That's right, Sandy McKenna. Black PR is Scientology's way of saying, we don't have a rebuttal, so we'll just scream slander. Exactly. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go back to this.
All kinds of stuff, just like an ordinary minister. Okay? And I've worked with L. Ron Hubbard, and he's one of the greatest people I've known.
In LA, he was here, or
No, he wasn't. Yeah.
Don't they charge?
Okay, notice she didn't say where he was. That's interesting. She could be former Sea Org. If she worked with L. Ron Hubbard, she has to be former Sea Org, because only the Sea Org was around L. Ron Hubbard. Right? It was very rare that you had someone who wasn't Sea Org around him. Liz says, I'm sorry, but it's willful ignorance to ignore Scientology's crimes against children and families at this point. Screw her. Sorry, not sorry. I get it. That is interesting, though. She worked with L. Ron Hubbard. And Scientology Audit Streets LA says, what? Oh, here in LA? No. And then she doesn't say anything. So did she work with L. Ron Hubbard, back in the int-based days when he was hiding out in that trailer? Was it on the ship back in the day when they were locking kids in chain lockers? What was it? When was it? But that's a bizarre reaction to give, in my opinion.
Charge like a whole lot of money for all these courses and stuff?
No, you can actually go online and do a bunch of courses for free. Yeah. Tons of free courses that you can do.
Well, so I'm assuming that you guys are the public side. The Sea Org ones, they like to avert eye contact and over them.
Well,
whenever we see them,
what's the difference?
I move my buttons around, and now I'm like, what is happening here? Why is this button here? There we go.
I don't understand. What's the Sea Org?
Well,
ones?
the Sea Org,
they live in the.
They're more dedicated.
Yeah, full time.
They're full-time staff. Yeah.
Like volunteers, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a.
What do they do? Like what kind of?
Everything like courses, venues, events. They do a little bit of everything to help with.
Okay, so the other ones must be Scientologists too. Now, to talk about these free courses, great question, Rochelle. Where are these free courses? They are for sure on the Volunteer Minister site. I think you can do a course for every one of the booklets that make up the Volunteer Minister course online for free. And then they basically say, now you're a Scientology volunteer minister. Those are the free courses. So she's not lying. They do offer them up, but there's strings attached.
Organization, keep going.
Are there a lot? Are there more like in the Sea Org or more? What do you call it? Like not in the Sea Org. Public. Is that what it's called? Public.
I'm a public Scientologist. If you want to know more,
right.
You come back tomorrow and you go inside those doors right there, and you can do an information tour. They'll tour you around the whole org.
I might be able to, but we'll figure out to walk around. Get them safe.
And help out the kids tomorrow.
You be very safe, ma'am.
I mean, she invited them to come do a tour. They could have gone. Liz says she's been trained in non-answering and short answering. Absolutely. She did the no answer. Whitney Edwards, you made it live. That's true, Sharona. There were many children around L. Ron Hubbard, especially girls. So she might have been one of those girls. That's true. That's true. Liz Gale, great point. PSA, do not do these free courses. You will be on their radar and mailing list forever. Forever. Scientology mailing lists are forever. It's like herpes. It just, shows up just when you think you've gotten rid of it. It's really hard to get off of a Scientology mailing list unless you're a suppressive person. Then it's easy. I don't miss the phone calls. I don't miss the mail. I really don't. I don't miss them showing up at my house. Okay, so that was amazing. I'm going to link it down below. Now, take a look at Dan Walks LA, who is outside catching Scientology, doing their thing, which is a lot of nothing. But look at this. Now watch what happens. So Dan's coming up on the receptionist here. And as soon as they notice he's there, watch their reaction and tell me, is this in any way in the realm of being anywhere remotely normal? Watch the reaction. They don't see him. They don't see him. They see him. Whoop, whoop. Oh, she just hung up the phone, just ran off, just runs off, going into the back room. I mean, and Dan Walks LA is one of the most friendliest people to come up to and meet and see out there, but they just run away like that. And again, it's Scientology, Office of Special Affairs. This is why, not the only reason, but this is in large part why you kind of really look culty, is because of stuff like this. But I got to admit it, it's hilarious in many ways. So let's go over to Blue Buildings, talking about what some of your favorite live streamers and Scientology protesters were doing over Easter. The Blue Buildings, they were having that Easter event. Remember the one that the woman was trying to sell Jessica Palmadessa and Scientology Audit Streets LA on? Well, it did happen. And we're going to look at some clips from Audit LA. Because Audit LA, which most of you know, if you do not, you can find Audit LA here on YouTube. You want to be subscribed and following her. She does a ton. Let's look at what happened while she was out there on Easter. And back, it was a reunion with her old friend Ted there. Ted, the security guard, which, by the way, y'all, some of you were worried about Ted. Like, would he still be around? Because what did he do? He told... what was that kid's name? Oh my gosh, I can't remember the kid's name. Bryce, was it Crawford? He's got a larger YouTube channel and he preaches at different places where you wouldn't expect it. He had a conversation with Ted, who admitted he didn't think Scientology was a religion. He just thought it was something that was more, self-help. He didn't totally throw them under the bus, but he did in a way that would bother them, which is, I don't see that as a religion. Well, Audit LA saw Ted out there. Let's listen in here.
You don't see something wrong with a church that not only denies Jesus but mocks him, would hold an Easter event on the holiest of days.
Hold on, I'm going to start that over.
You don't see something wrong with a church that not only denies Jesus but mocks him, would hold an Easter event on the holiest of days for a Christian and invite a largely Christian community to come and then pass out literature to them that's not Christian based or anything related, or that actually goes against, a lot of it goes against. You're okay with that? Apparently you are. Whatever it takes to make a buck, right?
So no real response. They're not letting her through, even though the street is closed. Yes, the public sidewalk is not, but big surprise, they're not letting people through, especially who, have a camera. But Audit LA was not accepting that because they could not show her a permit. So let's look at a bit more of what happened.
It's not your place to ask, because then you're working for Scientology, not the people. If they don't want to be protested, don't have.
So the cops came and an officer escorted her through the event, didn't let her just freely go through, but escorted her and actually asked her to not say anything to people, which is silencing her and is a violation of her First Amendment right. Let's take a listen.
Protested, don't have the event. They could have it on their parking lot. They could have it inside. It's not my fault that they believe that Jesus is a figment of our imagination. And they believe that aliens implanted the concept of Jesus in our heads 75 million years ago. I mean, and then you want to hold Easter? I don't think so. We need to find an alternative for these poor kids. And then they get passing out their literature, which to lure. Then they take all their pictures to use all that. I can wait. I don't want to disturb little kids. I try not to film kids, but their parents already accepted them being filmed by crossing in here. Yeah.
And she makes an excellent point. For Scientology to use Easter as an opportunity to just try to save point themselves or even recruit people is pretty bad. Like, that's pretty nasty. What she's saying is true. Here is another clip so we can see what happened.
It's going to be the last time. And I'm telling you, Osa, I know you're watching. It's the last time. Last Easter celebration festival you ever have. You better switch it to spring. I ain't playing. Yeah, we'll see if I get over. If not, I'm stuck here. Thank you. Yeah, I'm just worried because it might rev and go fast, and I don't want that to happen. You're fine.
And she makes a good point that, you know, Scientology could be having a spring event. It's just to use Easter to recruit when you're Scientology. And you've said such horrible things, L. Ron Hubbard, about Jesus. And it doesn't make a lot of sense when you really know what the truth is of what's happening.
Thank you. And can you tell them, like, see, and all the permits, just so you guys know in the future, there's not even the Academy Awards or any of those things can get a closed sidewalk to pedestrians. It does not exist. And the city, and I made sure with the city attorney, they made sure they know, the city attorney told them, so they know better and they still do it. But I am asking that you get every guard's, like, in a report, please, because I know you can't give it to me, but I am filing charges against freedom, you know, taking away my freedom to go through.
Love that. I'm going to link it down below so you can see her own video. A lot happened, and Anonymous Lens was there as well. And I have a clip from Anonymous Lens.
Walk through, but she was escorted. She didn't go on her own.
So she was there when Ada LA was escorted through with the police and shares what she observed.
Yeah, so she's being escorted by the two cops. And someone in the chat here said that that she was asked not to say anything while she walked through. So she's being escorted. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way. That's a trap for us. So that means if we go through there, then we have to be escorted and we cannot say anything. So that's still being silenced there, guys.
It is. You can't tell people, you can't talk to people on a public street and on a public sidewalk there. So then Scientology Audit Streets LA, William Good did another video where he was out there on Easter, I believe, showing some of the cameras and what he was seeing on Sunday.
A license plate reader, but they use it for just high definition cameras. So you come over here, they want to get a picture of your face. They want to get all your information. Got the camera there. So then you also got, what I love is, so you got speakers up there, so they try to play the music out here for copyright violations. I wonder if the bus pulled up front.
Then he spots recruiters out on Easter trying to recruit for Scientology.
You guys are out here recruiting? Scientologists are out here recruiting? Hustle her away, she's recruiting. Hey, we got Scientologists walking down the street, guys. Those guys right there, those two right there are recruiting for the Church of Scientology. Keep an eye out for them. They've got their little pamphlets, a license plate reader, but they use it for.
So right there on Easter, he caught them out there, and I bet they were not expecting to see Scientology audit William Good out there, but no, he was. Like, again, there was a lot that was happening with between having their Easter event and then even what led up to it. That conversation they had with the Scientologists, I thought was amazing. Eric Rader went to the beach. Let's take a quick look at that.
Look at that. He's going to dig up the whole beach. God, I hope he finds something. And his shoes are getting all wet. I bet his feet are frozen.
Eric went out to the beach. He did a walk. He did a drive. There was music. It was kind of fun too for the holiday. And then, as you guys know, Friday night, the big protest night in Clearwater, which is so much fun. I had to catch it on the replay. I had a friend over Friday night and she and I were hanging out. Look at me being social. I had a friend over. Okay, so anyways, getting back to, so in Clearwater, let's go over, because oh my gosh, there was a lot that went down here. Let's take a look. Let's start with a clip from Aaron Smith-Levin at Growing Up in Scientology. Check it out.
Protesting Scientology outside of their biggest organization in the world, located here in Clearwater, Florida. None other than Tom Cruise himself is out here with us, helping us get the job done. We are protesting Scientology.
So then somebody asked a good question too, and I think it was along the lines of like why they're out there protesting at Flag.
Join me while I get a seltzer. This is the place that's closest to us. Tampa's like 40 minutes away. This is like 5 minutes away from where I live. And also I spent a few years of my life at this base, living and working at this base. So I have a good reason. I've never worked at the Tampa org or anything like that. So I guess my point is this. The places where Streets goes to in LA, those are the places where Scientology is actively trying to bring in new members into Scientology. So when he's out there saying, hey, don't go in there, it's a cult, they're going to take your money, they're going to, you know, all this kind of stuff, that he's actively preventing Scientology from bringing new people in when he's out.
That is so true. And they're in Clearwater. There's not really a place for new Scientologists, because at Flag, you do the upper levels and you have to be qualified to be on the base. I always wonder how you have to be qualified as a Scientologist to do service at Flag, meaning you could not have ever had like attempted or had suicidal ideation. There are health things. So when they host events for other organizations, do they do the same thing? Do they be like, hey, I'm going to need to see all your my charts and stuff for health. We need to make sure that none of you are going to have a stroke while you're here, because they do that to Scientologists. And I've been wondering, like, I bet they don't. It's just weird. That's right, Florence. Awareness is important as the cult of Scientology is taking over Clearwater. Absolutely. And Feral Cheryl on the loose was out there and she was just collecting smiles, which I thought was amazing. Check this out.
Oh, he gave me a smile. You have a lovely smile. You should use it more often. That was cute. He gave me a smile. I mean, it was kind of a, oh, you're an idiot smile, but still, it was a smile. I'll take it. Mister, I'm going to go sit in the sauna for 5 hours.
Just smiling and collecting smiles. So you'll catch a Feral Cheryl on the loose out there Fridays for sure, and other times as well. She's been out there protesting Scientology with the crew for a while. And Dusty took his chat over to the beach over the weekend to see some fireworks, which I thought was fabulous. Look at this. And that's Dusty Soda Dispenser, who's also part of the Clearwater crew and out there live streaming and protesting Scientology. It's just really cool seeing how people, spend the weekend and what they were up to. Sinners and secrets. Oh my gosh, Sandy, I almost did it again. Sinners and secrets. Sandy McKenna was out there as well. You see her out there. I've got a clip to show you. She was talking with Erica, who doesn't have a channel, but is out there live streaming. I'm sorry, not live streaming, but protesting Scientology regularly. Erica is the protester who was arrested not that long ago and spent the night in jail and a big chunk of the day. But her and Sandy were out on the street that's in question in Clearwater, that Garden Street there, which you guys have been hearing a lot about, and they kind of have a conversation about it. Listen to this.
Yeah. So I think what they want to do, when you look at the drawings, which for Scientology apparently are never accurate, but it looks like they would build the front, the magnificent part of the LRH, right there where the fence is. And then this would all be, which they could do right now, green space park right here.
So they want to own this street.
They want to own this street.
The entire street?
Right. And it doesn't look like there'd be any of this parking, and it actually would be narrower from the look when you look at the.
Do you see how big it is?
Artist run.
It really is a lot larger street than it looks in the renderings. I mean, there's parking on both sides of the street, and I think it's a two-way street. This isn't a tiny little street.
This is like a major thoroughfare here.
That's right. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So Sandy McKenna at Sinners and Secrets. Sinners and Secrets. Secret. No. Okay, see, now I'm confusing myself. Secrets, Sinners and Secrets. I was just laughing with Sandy about how I just confused the channel name with something else. Love that. So that's what was happening in Clearwater over the weekend. Also over the weekend, let's talk about Relatable Reese, who's been kind of dipping a toe more into Christianity and learning about it. And I guess what a perfect time to try and learn about it than on Easter. Let's take a look at a clip of one of her videos.
Do the saints even exist is what I'm saying. Do Christians acknowledge the saints, or no, there never were saints according to what Christians believe? And how could that be true if Catholics believe saints but Christians don't? They're both reading out of the same book, right? So like, doesn't the Bible talk about the saints? Where did Catholics get saints then? And then I'll stop with this subject, I promise. But I am confused about that. If we're both reading the same book, wouldn't it talk about that? Does God talk about the saints? Do the saints?
Some interesting questions. And what I find really interesting about this is when you leave Scientology, for many Scientologists, religion is the last thing on our minds. And for many, it's like this concern and fear that we'll end up in another cult or high control group. Or I'll speak for myself. That's how I feel about it. Organized religion, I am not excited about, but learning about spirituality, learning about other religions so I can better understand my fellow humans, and being able to ask questions when you didn't grow up understanding or knowing a lot about Christianity, a lot of the basics. And most of us who grew up in Scientology did not. We were not taught those things. And where the vast majority of people, I feel like, did at least know enough about the basics of Christianity. So I appreciate that she can ask those questions and get some answers from the audience, and exploring that on a day like Easter sounds like understanding the assignment in a way. Not that long ago, I did a video interview with Jess LaBarber. I think it was a couple of weeks ago. She's a former Scientologist, former Sea Org member. We see Jess in the chat a lot about Christianity and her finding faith after Scientology, after the Sea Organization. She's been out for a long time, and she really opened up in a really vulnerable way and shared that. And the way that Jess LaBarber shared it and talked about it, like, it made so much sense to me. Like, I can see how that transition for her and the beliefs and how it helped her. And mostly I was interested in, like, how do you, were you scared away from it because of Scientology? Because when you grow up in a cult or a high control group, are you extra weary of ending up in a cult again? Yes. I've shared with you guys my anxiety of getting on airplanes and thinking, oh my gosh, somebody sitting next to me is going to try and make me a sister wife or sell me Amway or get me to join their cult, whatever it is. It's, it's a concern. But I think what ends up happening sometimes is that concern can become almost a fear of ending up in a similar situation. And so we don't ask questions. We don't learn about other religions that are actually considered to be valid religions. We don't ask those questions. And so I find it interesting that she does and she is, because it got me thinking like, wow, you know what? We don't ask a lot of those questions. And it does scare me. And I think if you grew up the way that I did and the way that many of us did, when it like any type of organized thing, like I would have a hard time going to a church even for a service, even though I might enjoy it. It's even meetings. I don't like meetings. Ask anybody who's worked with me. You got to trick me into a meeting, like make it over a happy hour where they sell THC drinks. And then I'm like, oh, okay. But it's all from, from that background. Liz Gale says, I'm about to learn about the Pope's death today and the alleged predictions about this pertaining to Bible stuff. I find it fascinating and cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I'm appreciative of people in the chat who are willing to answer questions and also not recognize that it's not coming from a place of some of us. I'll speak for myself because I don't know a ton about a lot of the basics in the Bible. I might ask questions that seem like, I'm just being ridiculous, but really I'm asking because I don't know. And it's a safe space. Although I take a lot of my questions to Chat GPT. But I want to know what you guys think about that. Because many of you, did not grow up in Scientology, right? Never in Scientology, all in on ending this cult. But have you had experiences in your life that make you more gun shy about it, right? In fact, thinking about like the question of the day, what's something someone once tried to convert you to that you're still recovering from? Because when we have those experiences, whether it was a cult like Scientology or a high control group, an abusive situation, I think we can also get into a situation of being almost too hyper aware of it, and we prevent ourselves from forming other relationships that could actually be healthy for us, if that makes sense, because of our previous experience. And that's part of too what the question of the day was about, is because I was curious about that. Well, are there other things that might prevent you, or you know what I'm saying, make you more gun shy to reach for that? Like, I'm sure most of you are not surprised when you hear many former Scientologists, even after leaving Scientology, struggle with seeing a therapist or getting some type of valid mental health treatment, definitely with mental health medication. Not all, but a lot. And it's a real struggle. I have a friend who's a former Scientologist where it was like a decade before she even looked at anything on the internet about Scientology, because she was kind of terrified of it because Scientology made such a big deal of it, even though she was no longer in the cult. So those things can really get in the way of trying to have a future relationship with a group that could be valid. And I try and remember that, like when I get invited places, or I spoke at a church last fall. I think it was in November. It was a speaking engagement. They even paid me to do it, which was pretty awesome. And to talk about Scientology and talk about my channel and my experience. And I got to learn a little bit about what they were doing. And I thought, what a great opportunity too for them to learn about a cult. So I think, in other words, there's so many opportunities and ways that we can help each other in having these discussions, because there's might be a lot about Scientology you guys don't know of, but you guys bring so much to the table on a variety of other topics that I'm not so much familiar with. And I think other creators too, and we're able to learn about that. So when we talk about this here, I'm going to pull this up here. Let's see. So what are some of those things, right? What's something that someone once tried to convert you to that you're still recovering from? And some of them are absolutely hilarious, and some are more serious. I was a VP kid teacher for years, and it was very culty, which I realized that last year of teaching for them. But unlike other cults, I didn't pay them, they paid me. That's interesting. So what is VIP kid teacher, Mama Opal? You got to tell me what that means there. Greggy says, various pro wrestlers and race car drivers over the years that friends have overhyped. Even with the ones I've gone on to like, the nagging negativity from the friends overhyping remains. So friends overhyping a group. I could see that, Greggy. I could totally see that. Sharona says the thing that once tried to convert her that she's still recovering from is tequila. Kathy Scogans, JWs, but I'm over it now. Interesting. Kathy, I'm curious, and you do not need to answer this question here on YouTube. Did you find another religion or group afterwards? I'm just curious. Let's see. PJ Max says, for me, it was, how do you pronounce that? Zia Athletic Wear. Oh, okay. So it's multi-level marketing still, but it's still not Norwex and doTERRA essential oils. They are really the best I can find. Okay. So that's an MLM. Yeah, I really like doTERRA. I'm a big essential oils fan. I like all kinds. I love a good diffuser. I got one right behind me, which I love. And Nancy and I were arguing this morning. She thinks it doesn't fit with my background, and she may be right. But when you turn it on and the water and the light, it looks like there's fire coming out of it. I love it. Let's see. Cheryl says, for this question of the day, an employee of hubby's prayed to his God on collab for hubby to get a big transfer, and then he promised to change us to Mormons. All that did was send me to a deep dive of all religions. Oh, so he promised like he wanted to make you guys Mormons? That's interesting. Lori Washburn says the thing that she got sucked into or almost did was shamanism. Okay, interesting, because there was a guy once that we met. This is when Tony was alive. This was some time ago. It was before he got diagnosed, who said he was a shaman, and it was a weird experience. And don't get me wrong, I'm here for weird. Okay, weird is my wheelhouse. I love strange and bizarre. Okay, but it was uncomfortable. I don't think that he was doing what he said he was doing. In fact, I think it had more of a negative effect. So I don't know a lot about shamanism, but that was my one experience that made me go, I don't know. Can you call yourself a shaman and you're a shaman? Is there a school? Like, how does it work? Wisconsin Barb says it's Tupperware. Tupperware was something that someone once tried to convert her to that she's still recovering from. I've heard that. I've heard it was hardcore. My grandma sold Tupperware back in the day because my uncle, her son, worked for Tupperware corporate. And I remember she did that for a long time. And I think she did pretty good with it. Anna from MA says, my sister-in-law decided to become vegetarian and was incredibly adamant that my husband and I also do the same. She was so preachy about it and pushed way too hard. Needless to say, no. And I think that is part of the problem. It's when I think what turns us off is pushing too hard, when people push too hard. And that's something that's so common in Scientology and often made me uncomfortable because L. Ron Hubbard said, well, you have to impinge, you have to get through, which basically is a justification for yelling and screaming at people. Because I found later on, as I got older and more experienced as a parent, you know what's more effective than yelling and screaming at a teenager? It's leaning in and speaking very quietly to them with a lot of intention. It creeps them out. And they tend to respond better. So I don't think yelling always works like that. Buckled Up Buttercup says, yeah, someone tried to get me into chocolate mousse. I may never recover. Oddball Overview says, my mother was briefly a Jehovah's Witness. She left once she found out they shun ex-members. To this day, she has friends that will not acknowledge her if they see her in the street. Yeah, I've heard a lot about that with the JWs. You know, we have our friend Jake from Alt Worldly on sometimes. Alt Worldly is his channel here on YouTube. He basically does the JW version, kind of like what I do with Scientology. And they do. And I find it really interesting, Oddball, that your mom left the JWs when she found out they shunned former members. I think that says a lot about your mom in a really positive way, because they do. They do, Scientology does disconnection. I think there's some other ones too that practice shunning. Pincha Leslie said, Mormons, they tried talking to me through my Catholic background and said it's kind of the same. But I found the Natalie of the Mormons here on YouTube, and girl, it's a cult. Okay, that's interesting to me because I think about because there's the FDLS. I get them confused. One is mainstream Mormons and one is where they still want to practice polygamy. FLDS and the FD, I forget. It's more, yeah, I'm full up with the Scientology 3-letter words, 4 little words and stuff. I do believe but Nancy, is FLDS the mainstream or is that the polygamy one? Oh, FLDS and LDS. Thank you, the Michael Malloy Show. FLDS is the polygamy one, right? And LDS is the mainstream Mormons, I do believe. Latter-day Saints. Thank you, Gaslit. That's right. Okay. All right. So LDS is mainstream. Perfect. That's what I thought it was, but I get them confused. So I don't know. Like I had family members by marriage who were Mormon, not the FLDS or FLDS type Mormon. Okay. So that's polygamy. FLDS is polygamy. LDS is mainstream. They were mainstream. And in my experience with them, other than having some stricter rules that I wouldn't want to live by, we're just the most lovely people ever, truly. But when you get into, I guess, like any type of religion or sect, you can have extremists. And then when you get into the whole polygamy thing, I think is where it gets super culty. But some people believe that mainstream LDS is a cult. But then some people believe that all religions are a cult. So I guess it depends on how you look at it. I guess it really does. Let's see. What else do we have under what's something you once tried? Somebody tried to convert you into. Let's see. We got the tequila one. James Steele, timeshares. Interesting. Okay. Bina says disco. Catherine says Arbonne. Ingrid says Mary Kay. Happy healing train. For me, it was my therapist trying to recruit me into a money scam pyramid scheme. Cash FX still in shock after 3 years. Whoa, that's horrible that was your therapist who did that. Lama Lisa, diets. Girl, yes. Some of them can be crazy. Bob, yes. Politics, for sure. Politics should be on the list, I believe. Sue Irwin says this marriage, wife, mother, and grandma thing. We got sucked in. Well, I'm only doing the grandma thing right now. I'm not sure that, I think marriage is wonderful and it's great for a lot of people. I'm just not sure it's for me. I really enjoyed being with Tony for 11 years and never getting married. It was just part of our thing. It just felt, I don't know, we both been married before and kept it fun. We decided we were going to nonstop always date each other and it kept it spicy. Now I had a great weekend. So I went to a cannabis festival. I spent time with my family. I spent a lot of time with my sister Lana. In fact, I slept over our house the other night. So I had a really great weekend as well that I came back on Sunday, got some work done, got caught up around the house, got a really busy week. Today, 2 p.m. Central, John Atack's coming back on the channel. And we're going to talk some about what it's like to be a Scientology staff member, including a Sea Org member. And I know you guys have a lot of questions in that area. So bring your questions. If you can't catch it live, I hope you can catch it on the replay. And on, we got more coming later in the week, but I'll tell you guys more about that stuff later. For now, hit that like for me and that subscribe. And most of all, I hope you guys all get out there and have an amazing cult-free day.